Back.
Yeah, and before that, they were in an area called Lamar County, Respect County at the time they lived there. So there's a bunch of Smiths in Lamar County, but we don't know yet we don't know who they are. But there were two of the sons that came over here, and we come from one of them, which goes on back to a generation further. What we're represented here today. We didn't try to go back any further than just that one. Okay, we had thought we might do something a little different this year, and that was try to get some of these, especially some of the older ones, to tell us some stories. It can be a made-up story, or it can be a story about some of the family that's funny. And I don't know how many, I'll start, and this is a true story, and I don't know how many of y'all knew my father. But my granddaddy used to tell me about they were 10 kids. Daddy was number 8. And back in those days, you didn't bring your dogs in the house. So Daddy had a little old dog, and he kept wanting to bring it in. And they wouldn't, my granddaddy wouldn't let him. So one day, they found a hole in the floor where he had gone in and he'd taken a plank out of the floor of the old house. And he had the dog in the house. He had pulled it up through the floor in the house. So if we're mischievous, it's in our blood.
Everybody saying, I was,
We don't have any Lolly's family.
No.
I sort of kept everything up and going for, well, they had Uncle Paul or Uncle Leslie one had fixed the light switch so when the water went out, they could cut that switch off. Well, I'd keep telling them every time, I said, y'all make sure and cut that switch off when you get out of the water. But they never would do it. They'd burn the pump up. And I'd say, better turn that switch off. And y'all know, if most of y'all kids know where that pump was, it was a job to go get a new pump, tow it down that hill and put a new pump in. But I thought that was, it was sort of funny and it was aggravating too.
And we're up at Fowler's. Okay, so we'd go up to Papa's and he'd let us drive. I'd drive and June would ride. And we'd go visit Gerald, and then there's this fella that worked on a milk truck that I sort of wanted to visit with. And we'd go over there. We'd go over to Uncle Owen's store, and Papa would tell us. But he didn't have a switch.
Yeah, you're recording.
You pulled the choke out and crank the thing. And so he would tell us, now don't y'all go to town. And we wouldn't be come down town. We'd go out the road like Wilma's and we'd be going like that. It was so rough. You remember them days?
Gene, you got one?
You okay?
This lady got up to sing her solo, and she kept on and on and on, and finally she quit, and he looked up at his papa, and he said, Papa, is she through? Oh, church. And the preacher that was there, he left and come back a year or two ago, and he saw Elsie. He said, I still remember that little boy saying that, and said, I was about ready for her to shut up, too.
Anybody else have a funny story? Howell?
I remember Dad telling about one time Grandpa had a new truck. He headed out there. If y'all remember there's an old carport out there, an old shed about the axe fell down. Across the road was where he kept his, I guess that's where he kept his antiques or where. Anyway, he kept
All antiques.
He kept his, at that time all the kids were littler, so they kept his truck in the shed. He was so proud of it, you know. So one morning he got up and went out and something had bent the fender. So he lined all 10 of the kids up out there, went down the line and nobody did it. So he said he's going to whoop them off and then somebody surprised him. So Daddy said he'd never been so proud when they looked out there and that old goat was looking and then standing up against that old goat. That goat saved him getting a whooping.
That's the one I had in mind. June.
Okay.
June was about, 3.5 years old when me and Jim got married. Well, Alden stayed with Robert and Jacob to do something. Anyhow, he was going to Bankston, and June wanted to go, and he wouldn't let her. She said, well, I'll throw a fit. He said, by Ned, I'll throw one too.
I thought she spit in his coffee though. Did you not spit in his coffee? I think I did. That was amazing.
It's about, these people that's
I'm
got
glad
young
my
kids.
children's not here.
That has babysitters and, comes in and keeps house for you. Well, now this kind of runs out of family a little bit. Anyway, I used to work and I had a housekeeper and they kept my Bill and Bob. Well, Bill, you don't. They're sitting around listening to what you say, and my sister-in-law had been there, and she said, what kind of housekeeper have you got? I said, well, it's not the best one I've ever had, I said, she don't, do this thing. Well, do you know, when she come in the next day to work, to over there to my house, Bill just up and told her that mother said you wasn't much of a housekeeper. And so I couldn't tell her. I said, I couldn't say he told the story because I had said it. And I said, well, I put it that way. I said, well, I did say it. I said, well, you do some things that others didn't do.
Wait, to all the little kids?
No.